Hello, here's our new lesson for today. Last time we talked about Achilles and Hector as our main heroes in the epic Iliad. Now let's talk about another hero story through Homer's Odyssey. Odyssey takes place in the aftermath of the Trojan War, after the events of the Iliad. It follows the hero Odysseus and the 10 ill-fated years it takes for him to return to Ithaca, his homeland. And here are a few more things to know about Odyssey. The author of the Odyssey is attributed to the blind man Homer, although some critics argue for multiple authorship. Odyssey is a long narrative poem on a serious subject written in a grand or elevated style that centers on a larger than life hero. The time and place written is unknown, but probably mainland Greece, approximately 700 BCE. During that time, the Odyssey was meant for listeners rather than readers and was performed by the oral poets called rhapsodes. Its point of view is omniscient narrator, which speaks in third person and great details on major and minor characters. Odysseus narrates books 9 to 12 in first person. There are a lot of themes present in the epic The Odyssey, but what is most dominant are the fate, the interventions of the gods, and the actions of the men and women themselves. The world of the Odyssey is defined by the rules that prescribe human interactions. Important customs are also part of the epic, which includes hospitable behavior to strangers and guests, or xenia. It's the ancient Greek sacred rule of hospitality. Odysseus is cunning or clever in many instances throughout his journey, and he used this in order to survive in this ancient world of gods and monsters. As part of his cunning, Odysseus often disguises his identity as when he claims to be called nobody in the cave of the Cyclops Polyphemus. He is called the man of twists and turns. The story of Odysseus begins in Homer's epic The Iliad, but his second poem, The Odyssey, relates the tale of Odysseus wandering the seas for 10 years as he struggled to return from the Trojan War to Ithaca, his homeland. It centers on one of the Greek warriors who fought in the battle and follows his 10-year journey back home. The Greek called this kind of story nostos, which means journey to home. Our main characters are the following. Odysseus. Odysseus is the protagonist of the Odyssey. He is the husband of Queen Penelope and the father of Prince Telemachus. Odysseus is known for his cunning intellect, crafted the plan that destroyed the city of Troy and ended the Trojan War. He is a favorite of the goddess Athena, who often sends him divine aid, but bitter enemy of Poseidon, who frustrates his journey every turn. Penelope, wife of Odysseus and mother of Telemachus. Penelope spends her days in the palace pining for the husband who left for Troy 20 years earlier and never returned. Homer portrays her as sometimes flighty and excitable, but also clever and steadfastly true to her husband. Telemachus, Odysseus' son. He is an infant when Odysseus left for Troy. Telemachus is about 20 at the beginning of the story. He is a natural obstacle to the suitors desperately courting his mother. But despite his courage and good heart, he initially lacks the poise and confidence to oppose them. His maturation, especially during his trip to Pylos and Sparta, provides a subplot to the epic. Athena often assists him. Athena, daughter of Zeus and goddess of wisdom, purposeful battle, and the womanly arts. Athena assists Odysseus and Telemachus with divine powers throughout the epic, and she speaks up for them in the councils of the gods on Mount Olympus. She often appears in disguise as mentor and an old friend of Odysseus. Poseidon, god of the sea. As the suitors are Odysseus' mortal antagonists, Poseidon is his divine antagonist. He despises Odysseus for blinding his son, the Cyclops Polyphemus, and constantly hampers his journey home. Ironically, Poseidon is the patron of the seafaring Phaeacians, who ultimately helped to return Odysseus to Ithaca. Calypso, the beautiful nymph who falls in love with Odysseus when he lands on her island home of Ogygia. Calypso holds him prisoner there for 7 years until Hermes, the messenger god, persuades her to let him go. Circe, the beautiful witch goddess who transforms Odysseus' crew into swine when he lands on her island. With Hermes' help, Odysseus resists Circe's powers and then becomes her lover, living in luxury at her side for a year. Scylla, a man-eating monster with 6 heads. And Charybdis, a sea monster that creates a whirlpool 3 times a day. Helios, the sun god and owner of the cattle sun.